The phone slipped from my fingers and clattered against the linoleum floor. I didn't even try to catch it. My eyes burned with tears I refused to let fall as I read the message again. You've always been a burden, Mom. I need peace right now. Asterisk. 20 years. 20 years I had devoted to Emily. Through the unexplained fevers, the tests, the diagnosis, the treatments, through remissions that gave false hope and relapses that crushed my spirit. Through nights when I slept in a chair beside her hospital bed, so afraid to close my eyes in case she needed me. Through the divorce when Dominic couldn't handle the stress of a sick child anymore and found comfort in his young secretary's arms. Through financial ruin as medical bills piled higher than the prescription bottles on our counter. And now that she was finally well, miraculously well after all those years, she had checked me into Sunny Grove long-term care facility without so much as a goodbye, just a text message, a digital dismissal of everything I had sacrificed. Mrs. White, a nurse with kind eyes and brightly colored scrubs, touched my shoulder. Are you all right? Would you like some water? I nodded, though I wasn't sure which question I was answering. My throat felt too tight to speak. The nurse helped me to a chair in the corner of the small room that was apparently now my home. It smelled of disinfectant and old perfume, a scent I associated with my own mother's final days. Emily dropped off your things earlier, the nurse said, gesturing to 2 suitcases by the bed. My entire life reduced to 2 pieces of luggage. She mentioned you've been having some memory issues. Don't worry, we'll take good care of you here. Memory issues. The only issue with my memory was how clearly I remembered every sacrifice I'd made for my daughter. Every extra shift at the hospital where I worked as a nurse, every skipped meal so she could have the organic foods her doctor recommended. Every night I stayed awake researching experimental treatments. There must be some mistake. I finally managed, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. I'm perfectly healthy. I'm only 58. The nurse, Megan, according to her name tag, smiled with practiced sympathy. Many of our residents are independent like you, Mrs. White. Think of this as a community, not a hospital. Why don't you rest now? Dinner is at 5, and I'll come get you. After she left, I sat motionless, trying to make sense of what was happening. When Emily had suggested I look at some living options last week, I thought she meant a smaller house or maybe a senior apartment complex. Not this, never this. I reached for my phone again, wanting to call her to demand an explanation. But would that make me the burden she claimed I was? The thought twisted like a knife in my chest. Instead, I opened my suitcases. My clothes had been hastily packed, some still on hangers. A few framed photos. Emily's graduation. Our family Christmas, before Dominic left. Emily's last day of treatment when we celebrated her remission. I set them on the nightstand and continued unpacking. In the side pocket of the second suitcase, I found a small notebook I didn't recognize. Opening it revealed Dominic's handwriting, my ex-husband, who had died 3 years ago from a heart attack. It appeared to be some kind of journal. The first entry was dated just after our divorce was finalized. Karen thinks she got everything in the settlement. She has no idea about the offshore account. If she had hired a better lawyer instead of focusing all her energy on Emily's treatments, maybe she would have discovered it, her loss. Emily will understand when she's older why I had to protect some assets. A man needs security. Asterisk. I sat down hard on the bed, my hands shaking. Dominic had hidden money during our divorce. Money that could have paid for Emily's treatments. Money that would have prevented me from working double shifts until I nearly collapsed from exhaustion. I flipped through more pages, my anger building with each entry. He documented trips with his new wife, expensive purchases, all while claiming he could barely afford his child support payments. And then I reached an entry from 6 months before his death. Changed my will today. Karen doesn't deserve anything after turning Emily against me all these years. Emily will get everything, but only after she's 30. The trust will provide a monthly allowance until then. Told Garrison to keep it in the office safe, not to file it officially until after I'm gone. Karen will never know. Asterisk. Garrison, Dominic's family lawyer. The same lawyer who had called me after Dominic's death to say there was no will, that everything would go through probate. The same lawyer who had somehow helped Emily gain power of attorney over me recently, claiming I was showing early signs of dementia. I was still staring at the journal when my phone rang, an unknown number. I answered automatically, my mind still reeling from what I discovered. Mrs. White. This is Garrison Phillips. The voice of my ex-husband's lawyer filled my ear. I hope I'm not disturbing you. My heart pounded so loudly I worried he could hear it through the phone. Not at all, I managed to say calmly. I'm calling because something unusual has happened. My office was being renovated this week and the workers found a safe built into the wall behind a bookcase. Inside was a document I think you should know about. Your ex-husband's will. The real one, not the outdated version we executed after his death. I gripped the journal tightly. Is that so? Yes. And Mrs. White. He paused, his voice lowering. I think you should come to my office as soon as possible. This changes everything. According to this will, your daughter Emily isn't entitled to anything. The room seemed to spin around me. All this time, Emily had received everything. The house, the investments, Dominic's life insurance, all while I struggled to make ends meet, eventually becoming dependent on her when my own health suffered from years of overwork and stress. Mrs. White, are you there? I took a deep breath, suddenly feeling stronger than I had in years. Yes, Mr. Phillips, I'm here, and I'll be at your office tomorrow morning. I hung up and looked around the small room of the care facility. My daughter had abandoned me here, thinking she was free of me at last, free to enjoy her inheritance without the burden of the mother who had sacrificed everything for her. She had no idea what was coming. Sleep was impossible that night. I lay in the unfamiliar bed, listening to the occasional squeak of rubber-soled shoes in the hallway as night staff made their rounds. Dominic's journal sat on the nightstand beside me, a ticking bomb of secrets that could change everything. At 5:30 a.m., I gave up on sleep and got dressed in the nicest outfit I had packed, a simple navy dress and cardigan. I needed to look put together, competent, not like someone who belonged in a care facility. When Megan arrived with breakfast at 7, I informed her I had an appointment. An appointment? Her eyebrows rose in surprise. I don't see anything in your schedule, Mrs. White. It's with my lawyer, I said firmly. I'll need to call a taxi. She hesitated, uncertainty crossing her face. I should check with your daughter first. Emily left specific instructions about your care plan. I don't need my daughter's permission to see my lawyer. I kept my voice level but firm. I'm not being held prisoner here, am I? Of course not, she said quickly. But your daughter mentioned your confusion. I'm not confused. I held her gaze steadily. But I understand you're doing your job. Call Emily if you must, but I'm leaving at 8:30 either way. Something in my expression must have convinced her. She nodded reluctantly. I'll arrange transportation for you. At 9 o'clock, I sat across from Garrison Phillips in his plush downtown office. The mahogany desk between us gleamed with polish and certificates lined the walls, a shrine to his legal credentials. Mrs. White, thank you for coming, he said, adjusting his gold cuff links. He looked uncomfortable, a sheen of sweat visible on his forehead despite the air conditioning. As I mentioned on the phone, we found your ex-husband's will in an old safe during renovations. A will you knew existed all along? I said, not bothering to hide my anger. I placed Dominic's journal on the desk. I found this yesterday. Dominic documented everything, including his instructions to you about hiding the will. Garrison's face paled. Where did you get that? It seems my daughter missed it when she packed my things for the care facility. I leaned forward. The facility she committed me to claiming I have dementia. Convenient timing, wouldn't you say? Just as she gained control over Dominic's entire estate. He swallowed hard. Mrs. White, I can explain. Save it, I cut him off. I want to see the will now. With shaking hands, he opened a folder and slid a document across the desk. I read it carefully, each paragraph revealing the extent of Dominic's vindictiveness and Garrison's complicity. The will was clear. Dominic had left everything to Emily, but only when she turned 30. Until then, the estate was to be managed by a trust with 70% of the income going to me as restitution for, as Dominic put it, financial hardships endured during our daughter's illness. There was also a clause stating that if Emily failed to adequately care for me in my old age, she would forfeit her inheritance entirely. He had a change of heart before he died, Garrison explained weakly. He realized how much you had sacrificed, but Emily was so insistent after his death, claiming you had always turned him against her. She had medical reports suggesting your memory was failing. Reports she fabricated, I said, my voice ice cold. My doctor would never diagnose me with dementia. I've been her patient for 20 years. You have to understand my position, Garrison pleaded. Emily presented very convincing evidence. She had power of attorney documents which you helped her create. I finished for him. Based on fraudulent medical information. He didn't deny it. What do you want, Mrs. White? Justice, I answered simply. I want what Dominic intended me to have. I want my daughter to face the consequences of her actions, and I want you to do your job properly this time, or I'll report you to the Bar Association for professional misconduct. The drive back to Sunny Grove gave me time to think. I wasn't interested in revenge exactly. What I wanted was accountability and answers. Why had Emily done this? How had our relationship deteriorated so badly that she could abandon me without remorse? The facility seemed different when I returned. Less like a prison, more like a temporary stop on my journey. I found Megan at the nurse's station. Your daughter called several times, she informed me. She was quite upset about your appointment. I imagined she was, I replied. Megan, I need a favor. Could you help me get in touch with Dr. Helen Foster at Memorial Hospital? She's my primary care physician. Of course, she said, looking relieved that I wasn't causing trouble. But Mrs. White, Emily mentioned you haven't seen Dr. Foster in over a year. Another lie. I had my annual physical just 2 months ago. That's not accurate, I said. Please make the call. In my room, I took out my phone and found several missed calls and messages from Emily. I wasn't ready to confront her yet. First, I needed more information. I scrolled through my contacts until I found Sarah Martinez, my friend from the hospital where I'd worked as a nurse for 30 years before retiring to care for Emily full-time. Sarah had always been straightforward with me, even when the truth was painful. Karen, Sarah answered on the second ring. My God, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you for days. It's a long story, I said, relieved to hear her voice. Emily checked me into Sunny Grove yesterday, a long-term care facility. She what? Sarah's shock was genuine. Why would she do that? You're perfectly healthy. She's telling people I have dementia. I kept my voice steady. Sarah, I need to know. Has Emily been saying things about my mental state to others? At the hospital, perhaps. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Karen, I didn't want to worry you. But yes, about 6 months ago, she started telling people you were becoming forgetful, sometimes confused. I didn't believe it. I saw you at the hospital fundraiser in March, and you were sharp as ever. But she was very convincing. Even had some of the doctors concerned. 6 months ago, right around the time she'd started managing Dominic's estate independently after the executive role ended. There's something else, Sarah continued, her voice dropping. She's been seeing someone, a financial advisor who's been helping her manage her inheritance, as she puts it. Ethan Blackwell. He has a questionable reputation. There were rumors at his previous firm about elder fraud. Everything was starting to make sense. The perfect storm, Emily's newfound wealth, a manipulative boyfriend, and a mother who knew too much about financial management to be easily deceived. Sarah, I need another favor. Can you send me any information you have on this, Ethan? And can you reach out to Dr. Foster? I need her to document my actual mental state before I confront Emily. Of course, Sarah promised. Karen, be careful. If they've gone this far already. I will, I assured her, though a cold knot of fear was forming in my stomach. How desperate might Emily become if she realized she was about to lose everything? After hanging up, I sat on the edge of my bed, trying to process the betrayal. My own daughter had systematically worked to discredit me, isolate me, and strip me of my autonomy. All for money. The money that should have been used for her medical care all those years ago. The bitter irony wasn't lost on me. A soft knock on my door interrupted my thoughts. Megan entered, looking troubled. Mrs. White, I spoke with Dr. Foster's office. They were very confused about your situation. Dr. Foster has been trying to reach you for weeks. She said your daughter told her you'd moved to Florida to live with a cousin. I nodded, unsurprised by one more lie in Emily's web of deception. There's something else, Megan said, glancing over her shoulder nervously. Your daughter is here. She's demanding to see you immediately. My heart raced. I wasn't prepared for this confrontation yet. Not without more evidence, not without a plan. She's very upset, Megan continued, and she's not alone. There's a man with her, tall, well-dressed. They're saying you left the facility without permission, and they need to discuss transferring you to a more secure location. A more secure location? One where I couldn't access lawyers or friends. One where I might truly disappear. Mrs. White, Megan's eyes were wide with concern. What do you want me to do? Tell them I'm resting and can't be disturbed, I whispered urgently to Megan. And please, if you could call Dr. Foster directly and ask her to come here, tell her it's an emergency. Megan hesitated, conflict evident on her face. Mrs. White. I could lose my job if... Megan, I interrupted, taking her hand. You're a nurse. You took an oath to do no harm. They're trying to move me somewhere against my will based on false medical claims. That's not just unethical, it's illegal. Something shifted in her expression. Professional resolve replacing uncertainty. She nodded once decisively. I'll handle it. Stay here and lock your door. After she left, I moved quickly. I needed evidence and protection. I took photos of every page of Dominic's journal with my phone and emailed them to Sarah and Garrison Phillips. Then I called Garrison again. They're here, I said without preamble when he answered. Emily and some man named Ethan. They want to transfer me to a more secure facility. That's not legal, Garrison said immediately. The power of attorney Emily would not cover forced relocation if you're competent to make your own decisions. But she's claiming I'm not competent, I reminded him. I've already started the process to contest that, he assured me. I owe you that much, Mrs. White. I've filed emergency motions with the court based on the new will and evidence of potential fraud. Don't sign anything. Don't go anywhere voluntarily. I'm sending my associate to you right now. I was still processing this unexpected allyship when I heard raised voices in the hallway, Emily's sharp tone cutting through the facility's usual quiet. This is ridiculous. I'm her daughter and medical proxy. I have every right to see her and make decisions about her care. A man's voice followed, smoother, but with an edge of authority that made my skin crawl. Perhaps we're not making ourselves clear. Mrs. White's condition has deteriorated. She's a danger to herself. The doctor who examined her this morning recommended immediate transfer to a specialized memory care unit. What doctor? There had been no examination that morning. The lies were becoming bolder, more desperate. Megan's voice was calm, but firm. I understand your concerns, but our policy requires patient consent for transfers unless there's an immediate medical emergency. Dr. Foster has been notified as Mrs. White's primary physician, and she's on her way to evaluate the situation. Foster? Emily's voice rose in surprise. My mother hasn't seen Dr. Foster in over a year. She's been seeing Dr. Winters. A doctor I'd never heard of. The web of deception was more intricate than I'd imagined. I pressed my ear against the door, heart pounding as the conversation continued. Look, the man, Ethan, presumably said, his tone hardening. We have the paperwork right here. Signed by Dr. Winters yesterday. We're not asking permission. I'm afraid I'll need to see those documents. Came a new voice. Older, female, authoritative. Relief flooded through me. Dr. Helen Foster had arrived with remarkable speed. I opened my door just enough to see down the hallway. Dr. Foster stood facing Emily and a tall man in an expensive suit. Despite being nearly 70, Helen Foster had the bearing of someone half her age. Her silver hair cut in a sharp bob that framed her no-nonsense expression. Dr. Foster, Emily said, visibly thrown by her appearance. We weren't expecting you. Evidently not, Dr. Foster replied dryly. Considering you told my office your mother had moved to Florida. She held out her hand toward Ethan. The transfer documents, please. Ethan hesitated, then handed over a folder. Dr. Foster scanned the contents, her expression darkening with each page. This signature is not mine, she said finally, her voice dangerously quiet. And these assessments never happened. Those are signed by Dr. Winters, Ethan corrected smoothly. Karen's current physician. Interesting, Dr. Foster replied. Since I examined Karen White just 2 months ago and found her to be in excellent cognitive health. She tapped a tablet she was carrying. I have those records with me, along with our appointment calendar showing regular visits for the past 20 years, including during periods when she was supposedly seeing this Dr. Winters. I stepped fully into the hallway, finally ready to face my daughter. Emily's head whipped toward me, her expression a complicated mix of shock, anger, and something that might have been fear. Mom, she said, her voice suddenly soft, placating. You shouldn't be. Ethan stepped forward, extending his hand with a practiced smile. Mrs. White. I'm Ethan Blackwell, Emily's fiancé. We're just concerned about your well-being. I ignored his hand. You're concerned about Dominic's money. The money that, according to his actual will, you can't touch until you're 30, Emily. And only if you've been taking care of me. Emily's face went pale. What are you talking about? Dad's will was executed years ago. The will Garrison Phillips conveniently found after I was safely tucked away here? No, the real will was in a safe in Garrison's office. The one your father instructed him to keep hidden. I kept my eyes fixed on my daughter. He had a change of heart before he died, Emily. He wanted to make things right. That's absurd, Ethan interjected, but his confident demeanor had faltered. Any supposed new will would have been presented during probate. Unless the lawyer was complicit in hiding it, Dr. Foster pointed out, which I understand Mr. Phillips has now admitted to. This is all a misunderstanding, Emily said quickly, reaching for my hand. I pulled away before she could touch me. Mom, you've been through so much. The stress of my illness, then Dad's death. It's affected your memory. We've all seen it. No, Emily, I said sadly. The only people who've seen it are the ones you've lied to. What I don't understand is why. After everything we went through together. For a moment, something like shame crossed her face, quickly replaced by defensiveness. You don't understand. You never understood. You think because you sat by my hospital bed that you know what it was like for me to be sick for most of my life. To watch other kids have normal childhoods while I was poked and prodded and pied. I was trying to save your life, I said, stunned by the resentment in her voice. You were trying to save yourself, she shot back. Poor Karen White, the devoted mother, the saint. You loved that role. You thrived on it. And when I got better, who were you? Just my boring, ordinary mom with no identity beyond being my caretaker. Each word hit like a physical blow. Was there truth in what she was saying? Had I somehow made her illness about me? And then Dad died, she continued, her voice rising. And suddenly there was all this money. Money that could have been used for better treatments years ago. Money he hid from us. You expect me to believe he had a change of heart? He was selfish until the end. That may be true, I acknowledged. But that doesn't justify what you've done, Emily. Lying about my mental state, fabricating medical records, abandoning me in a care facility with nothing but a text message telling me I was a burden. Emily flinched at that last part, but Ethan stepped in. This is getting us nowhere. Emily, we should go. Our lawyers will handle this. Dr. Foster stepped between them and me. No one is going anywhere until we sort this out. I've already contacted the medical board about these fraudulent documents. And as Mrs. White's physician, I'm documenting that she is fully competent to make her own decisions. You can't prove anything, Ethan said coldly. Actually, she can, came Megan's voice from behind me. I've been recording this entire conversation on my phone. Standard procedure when there's a dispute about a resident's care. She held up her phone, the recording app clearly visible on the screen. Ethan's face hardened. Give me that phone, he demanded, taking a threatening step toward Megan. Step back right now, came another voice, a security guard who had appeared at the end of the hallway. Behind him stood a young woman in a suit who I recognized as Garrison's associate. Mrs. White, the young lawyer called. I'm Amanda Moore from Phillips Law. The emergency motion has been granted. The court has temporarily suspended Emily White's power of attorney pending investigation. Emily looked from the lawyer to me, panic replacing her anger. Mom, you can't do this. Everything I did was for us. For us, I repeated incredulously. You were planning to leave me in some locked facility while you spent your father's money with a man who has a history of elder fraud. I saw Ethan's eyes widen at that revelation. Yes, I know about your reputation, Mr. Blackwell. The security guard moved closer. Sir, ma'am, I need to ask you to leave the premises now. Ethan grabbed Emily's arm. Let's go. This isn't over. As they retreated down the hallway, Emily looked back once, her expression unreadable. In that moment, I saw glimpses of the little girl I had nursed through countless nights of fever. The teenager who had fought so bravely through painful treatments, the young woman who had finally been declared in remission after 20 years of struggle. What had happened to us? How had we become such strangers? Mrs. White. Amanda Moore approached me cautiously. We should talk about next steps. The court hearing is scheduled for tomorrow morning. I nodded numbly, the full weight of the confrontation settling on me. I had stood my ground, but victory felt hollow. My daughter, the person I had devoted my entire life to, had betrayed me in the most fundamental way. Karen. Dr. Foster's gentle voice pulled me from my thoughts. Let's get you somewhere quiet. We need to document your current condition properly. As they led me back to my room, I caught sight of my reflection in a hallway mirror. I looked older, wearier. But there was something else there, too. A strength I hadn't seen in myself for a long time. I had survived my daughter's illness. I had survived Dominic's betrayal and abandonment. I would survive this too. But first, I needed to understand how my sweet Emily had turned into someone capable of such calculated cruelty. And I suspected Ethan Blackwell held the key to that mystery. Amanda, I said as we entered my room. Before we discuss the hearing, I need to know everything you can find out about Ethan Blackwell. I think there's more to his influence over Emily than we realize. Amanda nodded, already typing notes into her tablet. Mr. Phillips mentioned your concerns. We've started digging into his background. And? I prompted and she replied, looking up with a grim expression. You're right to be worried. Ethan Blackwell isn't just a financial advisor with a questionable past. He's been linked to at least 3 other cases involving young heirs and isolated elderly relatives. The implications chilled me. This wasn't just about Emily's resentment or greed. She had fallen under the influence of someone who specialized in exactly this type of situation. The question is, Amanda continued, her voice dropping to ensure only I could hear. How far is he willing to go to keep control of your ex-husband's fortune? Sleep eluded me again that night. I lay awake thinking about Emily's words, the resentment in her voice, the accusation that I had somehow enjoyed her illness, that I had made her suffering about me. Was there truth to it? Had I lost myself so completely in being Emily's mom that I couldn't see what was happening to her? A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. Megan entered with a tray of tea. "I thought you might need this," she said kindly, chamomile. "Good for anxious nights." "Thank you." I accepted the steaming cup gratefully. "I don't know how to thank you for everything you did today." She sat on the edge of the bed. "My grandmother was a victim of elder abuse. My uncle convinced everyone she was losing her mind, got power of attorney, and drained her accounts. By the time anyone realized what was happening, she'd lost everything." Her eyes met mine. "I promised myself I'd never stand by and watch that happen to someone else." "Do you think that's what this is?" "Elder abuse. Financial exploitation, isolation, false imprisonment?" "Yes, Mrs. White. That's exactly what it is." She paused. "Even if your daughter believes she's doing the right thing, she's being manipulated by someone who knows exactly what he's doing." After Megan left, I called Sarah, who answered immediately despite the late hour. "I've been researching our friend Ethan Blackwell," she said without preamble. "Karen, he's had 3 different jobs at financial firms in the past 5 years. Left each one just ahead of formal complaints. And I found something else. He was engaged twice before, both times to women who'd recently come into inheritances. What happened to them? One broke it off after her brother intervened. The other," Sarah hesitated. "She committed suicide. At least that's what the official report says." Her family had doubts. A chill ran through me. "You think he's dangerous?" "I think he's desperate. People who've built their lives on scams usually are when they're exposed." She paused. "Karen, I don't think you should be alone right now." "I'm in a care facility with staff around the clock," I reminded her. "And there's a security guard since the incident today. Still, I'd feel better if someone was with you." "I'm coming over." "Sarah, it's nearly midnight, which means my shift ended an hour ago and I'm already in my car. See you soon." True to her word, Sarah arrived 30 minutes later, overnight bag in hand. The facility made an exception to visiting hours given the circumstances. With her there, I finally managed a few hours of restless sleep. Morning brought Amanda Moore back to my room, this time with a thick folder of documents. "We've been busy," she announced, spreading papers across the small table. "First, good news. The judge has officially suspended Emily's power of attorney and appointed a neutral guardian ad litem until your competency is formally established. Dr. Foster's assessment has been entered into evidence along with statements from Megan and other staff members. And the will? That's more complicated. Garrison is testifying today about why he concealed it. He's facing serious professional consequences, but his cooperation helps our case." She hesitated. "There's something else you should see." She handed me a document. Bank statements from an account in Emily's name. The withdrawals were staggering. Hundreds of thousands of dollars over just 3 months. "Where is it all going?" I asked, stunned by the amounts. "That's what's interesting. Most of it went to an investment firm registered to Ethan Blackwell. Except it's not a real investment firm. It's a shell company. And those investments, they don't exist." "He's stealing from her," I whispered. "Yes, but I don't think Emily knows it yet. Based on these statements, she believes they're building an investment portfolio together. In reality, he's funneling the money offshore." My mind raced. "So, it's not just about controlling Dominic's estate, he's actively stealing it." "Exactly. And based on his pattern with previous victims, once he has enough, he'll disappear, leaving Emily with nothing." I closed my eyes, processing this new information. My daughter was both perpetrator and victim. "There's more," Amanda continued. "We found Dr. Winters, the doctor who supposedly diagnosed your dementia. He claims he never examined you. Says he signed papers as a favor to Ethan, who he knows from his country club. He's already recanted his diagnosis." "Can I see Emily?" I asked suddenly. Before the hearing, Amanda looked uncertain. "That might not be advisable given." "She's my daughter," I interrupted. "Whatever she's done, she's still my daughter, and she's in danger." Before Amanda could respond, my phone rang. An unknown number. Mrs. White. A woman's voice, shaking and unfamiliar. My name is Vanessa Blackwell, Ethan's ex-wife. Your friend Sarah Martinez tracked me down. Mrs. Blackwell, I said carefully. What can I do for you? It's what I can do for you, she replied urgently. I heard Ethan is involved with your daughter, trying to control your ex-husband's estate. She took a deep breath. You need to be careful. Ethan is dangerous. More dangerous than you know. What do you mean? The pattern is always the same. He finds vulnerable heirs, isolates them from family, convinces them to transfer assets to his investment firm. When the money's gone or someone starts asking questions, he vanishes. Her voice dropped. Or accidents happen. My blood ran cold. Accidents? His previous fiancée, Diane Crawford, the one who supposedly committed suicide. She was asking questions about missing money the day before she died. Vanessa's voice cracked. I tried to warn her family, but they thought I was just a jealous ex. Now I'm warning you. Don't underestimate him. After hanging up, I relayed the conversation to Amanda, whose expression grew increasingly grave. We need to tell Emily, I insisted. Whatever she's done, she doesn't deserve this. I agree, but we need to be careful. If Ethan suspects we're onto him. My phone chimed with a text message from Emily. Mom, I'm sorry for everything. Ethan explained it was all a misunderstanding. Can we talk privately? Just you and me. Asterisk. I showed it to Amanda, who frowned. It could be a trap, or Ethan could have sent it himself. Or she could be reaching out, I countered. I have to try. Not alone, Amanda insisted. Let me call the police first. Explain the situation. While Amanda made calls, I texted Emily back. Where and when? Her response came quickly. Asterisk the garden at Sunny Grove. 1 hour. Just us, please. I need to make things right. Asterisk. I showed Amanda. This is our chance. The police are sending a detective, but she won't be here for at least 2 hours. Amanda said we should wait. If we wait, Ethan might convince her to run. This might be our only opportunity to get through to her. I met Amanda's concerned gaze. I'll meet her in the garden. It's public. There are staff around. You can watch from inside. Amanda reluctantly agreed to the plan. 1 hour later, I sat on a bench in Sunny Grove's garden, heart pounding as I waited for my daughter. Movement caught my eye. Emily entering the garden from the parking lot, alone as promised. Her face was pale, eyes red-rimmed from crying. Relief flooded through me. Maybe there was a chance to reach her after all. She hurried toward me, glancing nervously over her shoulder. Mom, she called, her voice breaking. I need to tell you something about Ethan. I think you were right. A dark figure emerged from behind the hedges. Ethan, face contorted with rage. Emily, I stood, warning in my voice. He's here. She whirled to face him, backing away. Ethan, you promised to wait in the car. Change of plans, he snarled, reaching into his jacket. The glint of metal caught the sunlight. Emily's eyes widened in horror. Mom, run. But I didn't run. 20 years of protecting my daughter had created instincts that overrode fear. Instead, I moved toward Emily, positioning myself between her and Ethan. Put that away, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The police are already on their way. Ethan's laugh was cold. Nice try, but we're going to finish this now. Emily, come here. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. No, it's over, Ethan. I know what you've been doing with the money. His expression hardened. Don't be dramatic. We've been investing in our future. You've been stealing from me, Emily shot back. Sarah sent me the documents this morning. Proof that your investment firm doesn't exist. The offshore account's in your name only. Ethan's face contorted with rage. You ungrateful little, he lunged forward, the gun now fully visible in his hand. Several things happened at once. Emily screamed. I shoved her aside, bracing for impact. And a commanding voice rang out across the garden. Police. Drop the weapon. Ethan froze, then made a desperate dash toward the parking lot. He didn't make it 3 steps before security guards tackled him to the ground. The gun skittered across the pavement as officers rushed in from every direction. Amanda ran toward us from the building. "Are you both all right?" I nodded, unable to speak as adrenaline coursed through my body. Emily collapsed onto a bench, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm sorry," she gasped between sobs. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." I sat beside her, keeping a small distance between us. The maternal instinct to comfort her warred with the raw pain of her betrayal. "How could you believe I had dementia?" I asked quietly. "After everything we've been through together, how could you leave me in that facility with just a text message saying I was a burden?" Emily's face crumpled. "I didn't send that text." "What?" "Ethan did. He took my phone that day. Said he'd handle everything while I was at my therapy appointment." She wiped her eyes. "I was awful to you, Mom. I let him convince me you were losing your mind, that you needed care I couldn't provide. But I never called you a burden. I would never say that." I studied her face, searching for deception, but finding only misery and shame. "Why, Emily? After everything, why turn against me like this?" She stared at her hands. "It started after Dad died. Ethan was my financial advisor, helping me manage the inheritance. He was charming, attentive. He made me feel special, like I was more than just the sick girl for the first time in my life." "You were always more than that to me," I said softly. "Was I?" Her eyes met mine. Wounded but direct. "Mom, you were an amazing caretaker. You sacrificed everything for me. But sometimes it felt like my illness defined both of us. Like you didn't know how to relate to me as anything but your sick daughter who needed saving." The words stung because there was truth in them. When Emily had gone into remission, I had struggled to redefine our relationship, to see her as an independent adult rather than the vulnerable child I'd protected for so long. "Ethan understood that," she continued. "He encouraged me to establish independence from you. At first, it was healthy, getting my own place, managing my own affairs. But then he started planting doubts, suggesting you were controlling, pointing out memory lapses that were probably nothing. And you believed him. He was very convincing. He'd rearrange things in your house, then point out how you couldn't remember moving them. He'd cancel your appointments, then show me how you forgot them." Shame colored her features. By the time he suggested the care facility, he had constructed an entire reality where you were declining rapidly. And I was the responsible daughter making hard decisions. A detective approached, notebook in hand. "Mrs. White, Ms. White, I need to take your statements when you're ready." I nodded. "Just a few more minutes, please." After the detective stepped away, I turned back to Emily. "The will. Did you know about the real one?" She shook her head. "I had no idea. Ethan handled everything with Garrison. I trusted him completely." Her voice broke. "I was such a fool." "You were manipulated by someone who's done this before," I said. "But Emily, that doesn't excuse everything. You made choices. You let him isolate me. You signed papers committing me without even talking to me first." "I know," she whispered. "And I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life." In the distance, paramedics loaded a handcuffed Ethan into an ambulance. Apparently, he'd sustained injuries during his apprehension. It gave me no pleasure to see him hurt, but I felt profound relief knowing he could no longer harm anyone. 3 months later, I sat in the judge's chambers as the final orders. "The court recognizes the extraordinary circumstances of this case," the judge said, reviewing the documents before her. "Mrs. White, you've requested leniency for your daughter, despite her role in these events." "I have," I confirmed. Emily was manipulated by a predator who targeted her specifically because of her vulnerability. She's agreed to make full restitution from the estate and is already doing community service at a center for abuse survivors. The judge nodded. "And the terms of the will?" "I've established a trust," I explained. Half of Dominic's estate will fund a foundation for families dealing with childhood chronic illness. The remainder will be managed by independent trustees, with Emily receiving a modest monthly allowance until she's 30, at which point she can petition for full access if she meets certain conditions. Very well, the judge said, signing the final papers. Justice is served with mercy where appropriate. Court adjourned. Outside, Emily waited on a bench, her posture reflecting the weight she carried. Our relationship remained fragile, a delicate reconstruction of broken trust. We were in family therapy together, slowly unpacking decades of complicated dynamics. "It's done," I told her as I emerged from the chambers. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for the leniency. I don't deserve it." "Maybe not," I agreed. "But healing is more important than punishment." She nodded, then hesitated. "I got a job offer teaching music at a school in Portland." "That's wonderful." I had forgotten how talented she was with the violin, a passion set aside during years of illness. "It starts next month." "I was thinking maybe you'd want to visit once I'm settled. See the city." It was a small olive branch, tentatively extended. Not forgiveness. We weren't there yet, but possibility. "I'd like that," I said. We walked together toward the parking lot, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows. I thought about the journey that had brought us here. The illness that had defined our lives for so long, Dominic's betrayal, Ethan's manipulation, and the painful fracturing of the bond one had thought unbreakable. "Mom." Emily's voice interrupted my thoughts. "Remember how you used to tell me that healing isn't linear? That there would be good days and bad days, but we'd get through them together." I remember. I think that applies to us now, doesn't it? To healing our relationship. I looked at my daughter, truly looked at her not as the sick child I had protected or the woman who had betrayed me, but as she was, complicated, flawed, and trying to find her way back. "Yes," I said softly, "one day at a time." Life had taught me that the hardest pain often comes from those we love most deeply. But it had also taught me that while trust once broken is never quite the same, something new and different can grow in its place. Something perhaps stronger for having been rebuilt. It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was a beginning. And for now, that was enough.